We're live.
You want me to do my intro now?
100%.
Pretty hyped on it. Wait, I need method acting. I'm going to have to get into it, you know. I'm in. Chill. Yeah, no problem. Get the wallet. Here you go. Yeah, I got cash. Bam! Oh! Why are you limping? How's that knee? Wait, you forgot the cash.
I love it.
Let's reload in case he comes back. You trying to get wheelchair accessible, huh? This is in case James want to go crazy at the club the other night. We spent some money. You spent some money. Yeah, well, we're a team. We're a team. My money, your money.
So that used to be a big stack of cash?
Yeah, right. You hear that flex? That used to be a big stack of cash. For your information, when I went up there, after I had removed the James Party Fund cash, it was so big I couldn't get the rubber band around it. It wouldn't fold, so I had to make two piles.
That's what she said.
Okay. My man, Ron Dan. The hell, man, you are not only the best looking, let's start with a lie. I got to think of another one. My man, you are the most well-connected dude in our industry. Not only are you a complete joy and wonderful and brilliant. There, I thought of like three more all at the same time. No, it's always so good to see you. We're just fresh off a trip from Argentina where the boys, the Narwhals, like laid the smack down on a bunch of Argentinian mammals. We completed a grand slam while we were there. It's a great time. So now
I shot a stag with your fix.
Oh, you did? The oldest stag in America. Or not America. We were not. I guess we were in South America.
Yeah.
In Argentina. Oh, my God.
But they were convinced that was like the oldest stag they had seen.
I have seen a few stags in my day. And, he couldn't jump a fence. His hip bones were sticking out so bad. Like, that was, like we all like to claim, oh, it's a mercy kill. We killed the oldest thing. That is the second time I've ever seen in probably 1,000 animals. I would have shot that one out of season illegally. That one was Christine going to make you edit that out. But it's just, he couldn't jump a cattle fence to get away from us once he saw us. I mean, it was sad.
Yeah, and well into season, still had velvet, and...
Yeah.
But
anyway, so we'll get back into that story after we have another shot or two. Aaron, Trailblazer Arms.
Good morning.
It's double A-Ron, right?
That's right, A-Ron.
A-Ron, okay, yeah. Oh, wonderful. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you, Kevin.
You're welcome. So, this is so fun. Oh, my God. I love this thing. Because, it's like, I got all these, like, disguise weapons and stuff, so I'm sort of into this. And that's probably exactly what you don't want me to say about this thing, I'm sure. But this little fold-up, go-in-your-pocket thing, it's so cool. It's like, what are you going to use it for? I mean, you saw me just defend myself at the ATM machine. It was wonderful.
it fits right in your wallet.
Right in my wallet.
Way smaller than that stack of bills.
Yeah, Daddy does okay. So, what a cool thing. How fun is that? And I tell you, so we'll get into all your stuff, but I'm so excited about it. So we spent some time yesterday doing some shooting with it. Good time. And now you got the threaded barrel version. Oh, with the silencer. Boom. Now you got something. Because this is incredible, but it's loud. I mean, you saw, like, homie's deaf and now is in a wheelchair. But it's loud. But, man, when you can put a silencer on it, it just turns into a great time for you and the homies. It's like the 300 Blackout H&R handy rifle that we did years ago, where it's a single shot. It's like, why would you want that? Put a silencer on. It's the most fun you're going to have out of all your guns. And now you have this. Because not only the novelty of it folds up in this little package like my Transformer. Shout out to my son Aiden. I had this as a kid, and it was stolen. And so my son, 3 or 4 years ago, went on eBay and bought me this for Christmas.
Where'd you steal it from?
Well, another kid that had it that had more money than me. So reminds me of this. I love it. But now with the silencer, you talk about practical, like the shooting competitions after you go shoot with the homies and you sit down, you put the silencer on there. Okay, who can hit the can at 50 yards with this? Everybody put in $5. Good times all around. That's what you're going to remember about your day of shooting, honestly, in my opinion. So enough of that. Trailblazer Arms. How'd this happen? What's going on?
So it's been a long journey, Kevin. I guess going on 12 years for me, transitioning from building houses to building guns. And it all started with this little LifeCard pistol where in a moment of inspiration, I was in a hotel room. I think I was in New Jersey.
I've been inspired in those times too.
I had my hotel key card, and I'm like, that's the perfect size. It's the same size as a credit card. I'm going to make a gun that is that profile.
Well, I mean, why did you think that? Like, I see my hotel key all the time. I don't ever think that. Like,
You never think gun?
Yeah, I think guns all the time. I wasn't ever like, that's perfect size. I always think, why can't I just, like, look at the door and it knows it's me and it opens? I don't, I'm not, like, oh, the key's annoying to me because I leave it alone all the time, or in the room, and then I got to go get another one.
I think I had some input for sure. I was thinking about guns, but I was thinking about kind of the smallest package that I could make a single shot gun, and the credit card seemed like a good thing.
So you're already thinking about the small. You had an idea.
It was actually a response to somebody else's idea of a big, something probably 4 times bigger than this machine gun, disguised as a first aid kit, a machine gun, and this is in 2010, so it's not ever going to be transferable. So it's not going to be legal. It's not going to be commercially available. So it seemed a little absurd. It was entertaining, but seemed a little absurd.
Red Jacket Arms doing like weird shit.
It was. Yeah. And it's entertaining, but I thought...
Yeah, it makes for good TV, but
sure,
not practical.
I instantly thought, what's the opposite of that? What would be the smallest possible gun that would still have some utility? And I like to say similar to a pocket knife.
Yeah.
If I was going to a knife fight, I'd take a big knife. But in my daily travels, I don't plan on getting in a knife fight, so I just carry a pocket knife, a folding knife. Open boxes, whatever.
I know I'm going to open boxes and letters. So, yeah.
So to me, the LifeCard is that version of, it's a pocket knife that's a gun.
Dude, I love it. I call it like the Fix a utility rifle.
Yeah.
And, the whole idea, if you don't have it with you don't have it. It totally makes sense. And, I mean, I'm with you. I hardly ever carry a gun because it's inconvenient. But this, I mean, it's cool because it's small and it's convenient. And then also, it's cool. Like, it's cool to show your friends. Like, if you just have, like I love the vintage Winchester, for instance. Well, a few of my friends can really appreciate it, but it's just a stupid bolt-action rifle with a wood stock. There's nothing interesting or novel to be part of a conversation with your friends. It's just you show them the one time, okay, that's cool. You got a gun from your granddad.
Yeah, definitely.
It's cool.
So for me, this is not, it's not the most practical gun. It's not the best gun for any particular situation, for self-defense, for target shooting, for hunting, but it is one of the smallest, if not the smallest. The gun fits in an Altoids tin with room to spare. You can put some other stuff in there, some $100 bills or whatever you want to put in there.
Well, it was weird when you said that to me the first time, but then when you just described why you said it fits in an Altoids, because I'm like, I don't care an Altoids tin, I don't care. But then when you explained why you said that, it was cool.
Yeah, so that was the other input really for the design. I had read this online article about survival kits, and I think it was Field and Stream, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
I was reading all the comments. I read the article,
especially the time frame you're talking about. Like, I'm old enough to, you and I are the same age, so was around then. That was a huge thing in the industry. It was maybe pre the zombie fad, but the survival stuff was so big back then.
Right. So they were doing this, basically a competition of building survival kits, and there are different uses, but essentially something you'd take out into the woods with you, and you'd have what you need to survive for 3 days or whatever. Yeah. And I read through the whole thing. I was completely immersed in this article, and then in one of the comments, somebody said, if only someone would make a gun that would fit in this Altoids tin. And that was my light
That's
bulb.
so awesome. I mean, isn't it interesting, like your moments of inspiration? I mean, and it can be, and it's like, okay, well, that's a stupid article, but then it's a really cool article too. If you think about it, it's kind of perspective. It's like, it would be interesting to me even today because, okay, what are people thinking that they need that'll go into this little tin? And you know, it's like you can get inspiration input that's valuable from everywhere.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And so that was yours. So it's an article about do a survival kit that'll fit into an Altoid skin.
Yeah, so we found out quickly that that's not a big slice of the gun buying market, survival guns. So we kind of steered away from that. My original gun actually had a pocket knife blade and a fire starter built into the gun. So it was
I think that's awesome, actually.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I'm not really, I don't know, for me, and I'm probably not your average customer, but I don't know. Like now, after I just shot that dude that tried to rob me, but I'm not buying it necessarily for survival, but it is fun. And like our industry, we've gone through so many years of everybody's got to be, you know, a badass, and you got to be so serious. And shooting is fun, and when you can shoot 22s are the most fun. And you young people need to step your game up. Thinking 22, like nobody young. Well, you're not even young anymore, so I can't point at you, James. No one your age or Thomas's age. You guys are too cool for 22. You're idiots. 22 is the most fun, and the only way to make it better is to put a silencer on it. It's like, you know, everybody wants to get with the prom queen, but what if she were twins? That's putting the silencer on here. It is so fun. I mean, it's such a great time, and because you know, I didn't know much about you before Ron came to work with you, and you know, so I don't really go into gun stores and all very much anymore. But the build quality, and I'm super into ergonomics now, you know, with the fix and stuff. And as ridiculous as this sounds, looking at this, ergonomically, when you open this gun up, oh my Lord, like the ergonomics are great.
So we matched the grip angle of the 1911 just because we could.
My man, because it's right.
But
It's right.
2 World Wars.
It's right.
Since I'm a lefty,
2 World Wars.
Since I'm a lefty, we made the gun completely ambi.
Lord.
I'm passionate
Does
about
it take
that.
Glock mags?
It doesn't.
Thank God. Yeah, but I mean, you're right. All the features are ambi. So you have this lever. So it, well, here I am. You have this lever, deploys the grip. And so then here, and I mean, everything ergonomically is good. This is how you cock the gun, and then you shoot. It's great. But the gun feels correct. You know, us hanging out, you know, having a competition yesterday trying to shoot like a monster can or something.
Right.
Beer can, probably. But we probably can't say that. But this was so much fun. And we went through a couple boxes of ammo, like just hanging out, competing with each other, having a good time, which is much more memorable than us going and even shooting like the fixed rifle. It's like this 22s are so fun.
That was a ball. I mean, 4 of us sitting out there in the dark, giggling our heads off. Now, granted, none of us hit the can, but
well, no sights. We got to work on that. I think we have room to.
We scared the
Sights
crap
on
out
this?
of that can, though.
Whoo! Oh, yeah.
We were all over it.
The grass, it looks like pigs have been rooting out there, and except the one little island about this big where the can was sitting. But you know, it probably. I mean, we should have been responsible and put it closer. But how fun would that be? Like,
Right.
Got to make it impossible.
for sure.
Yeah. All right. So you Altoid 10, and then what happens?
You mean what happens getting it out of the Altoid stand?
No, what happens with you and the company? Like you have this concept, you draw it out, you make some prototypes.
So a lot of that is still covered under non-disclosures, but I'll give you, without giving names, I'll give you kind of a synopsis. So 2010, I come up with the idea, and I floated it to a few people in my family, a few people in the industry. I wasn't connected in the industry. I was a home builder, and I got some encouragement enough to continue with the design. I paid somebody, I sat with them, and they put it into CAD. And ultimately, we built one prototype probably a year after I'd come up with the idea. And I reached out to a couple of companies in the industry, smaller manufacturers that made things that were maybe in the same caliber, we'll say.
Gun companies.
Gun companies. And I got an invitation to SHOT Show 2012. They didn't pay for me to go, but they said, come and we'll give you a badge and show us what you got. And I thought, here I am. I'm going to make a deal with these guys here at SHOT Show. And almost, but it didn't work out. And over the next 3-4 years, I worked with several gun companies, well-known names you would know, names I've told you off the podcast. And just one thing after another, we built lots of prototypes. We did design changes. We talked about volumes and royalties and all that stuff. And I really thought that this was it. I've made it. And in the end, they all backed out. They all said, we can't do it, or we can't pay you enough, or whatever was the reason. And after probably 5 years of that, of meeting with gun company CEOs and trying to make a deal, I concluded that I had to do this on my own. I had to start a gun company, figure out manufacturing, figure out distribution, sales, and that's what we did.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we share a similar story. And I can see it, and I can see with this, because my first question to you was like, what kills the deal? And Christine's or what kill the deal? So, no offense, Christine's awesome and perfect, but also general counsel, so a huge pain in the ass. And that is everything that is not known. So it's basically innovation is scary to everyone that's supposed to protect you and, your liabilities.
I think for me,
risk.
I was coming from the outside. I didn't have general counsel, and so it was just blazing a new trail.
Yeah,
and we'll
see
what happens.
Yeah, but I could get. I mean, I can understand. Like if this didn't exist, and I told Christine we were going to do this, the conversations that we would have, it'd get heated. So I can understand. I don't like it, but I think it's one part of who I am and our company is I'm a little more open to risk than the average general counsel, and at the end of the day, you can general counsel or HR or finance yourself to death, but that's just part of innovation. You're taking risk, you're doing new things, so yeah, you don't know what the hell's going to happen because no one's ever done it. So if it were easy, Marty Daniel would do it, and that's what we would call this, is the Daniel Defense, pocket guard thing. Yeah, it wouldn't.
So speaking of risk, I've been married to my wife for 30 years, and she
is a delight.
She is. She's gone through it all with me, but I self-identify as a risk taker, and so that's proven out over the last 30 years to not be great in a lot of situations. But Ron knows, in my former career building houses, I thought, why can't we build houses on the side of the mountain and put them on steel piers, steel columns, and build them 35, 40 feet off the ground, because the ground is so sloped. Why can't we do that?
Yeah, you're in Asheville, right?
Asheville, North Carolina.
So in the mountains. So, and also, you want that view.
And
you
really
want the view.
Now, we're talking what most people would call a cliff. Not really like a slope,
I guess.
more of like a cliff.
Yeah, it's not far from my old farm in Georgia. My place was on top of the mountain for a reason, because you get that view.
That's right. Yep.
Yeah. So yeah. I think that's how I challenge Christine and the engineers a lot at my place. It's you got to keep the engineers honest too, because, and we've got a great culture for that at my company. But my question when I want to do something, whether it's marketing, whether it's Thomas in marketing, or it's Christine in general counsel, or it's the engineers. Well, why can't we do it? You explain to me why we can't do it. Because it's going to be hard, because you don't know, because it's going to be difficult. Well, let's try it, and if we break it, then let's figure out why we broke it and keep going. I think that that's, to me, like, I like to think of myself as an entrepreneur and an innovator, and I think that's the reason why. It's like we have to do things that haven't been done before, and so yeah, you can put it in your computer and we can get an idea of what's going to happen, but we really don't know until we try.
And there are risks with everything, and I'm fond to say, if this was easy, everybody would do it. And that's not what I want. I don't want to do what everybody else does, and I don't want to do the easy thing. And
I agree.
That comes with its challenges. Thankfully, my wife has stayed married to me with that approach, but I think it's going to pay off in the end. I
mean, yeah, I can't see how it doesn't, honestly. It's like, it's fun. I mean, it's always the challenge. It's like I said last night, the dumbest person I've ever known had a great idea every couple years, and it would shock me because they were fucking idiot. But then they would say something. I was like, oh my God, that's a great idea. But you got to be willing to risk, and you got to be willing to put the work in. And, so I tell my kids, like, as they're transitioning into adulthood, it's like, for me at least, who I am, it's like you have to have something you're passionate about, because everything's going to suck sometimes, and everything's going to be hard, and you're going to fail at sometimes. So be confident enough to get through that. But if you're passionate about it, you'll push through it, because it's easy if all you want is a life. Like, I want to live. If all you want's a life and to be able to afford a decent house and a car and clothes for your kids and all, so like, you can't even starve to death in America. It's ridiculous. So it makes us soft. But it's like, choose something that you love, because when things suck, you won't realize how bad it sucks, and you'll push through rather than skipping from one job or one person to another, or whatever the situation is.
You said something last night that resonated with me so much, that all you think about is work. And I get that, and it's because I'm passionate now about what I do. It's not always been the case for me. No. I did what I had to do in the past, but now I've found what drives me, and it is 24/7. I'm always thinking. When I left your house last night, I was already designing on a new gun in my head.
Yeah, you can't help it.
I love it. I can't help it, and I love it.
That's right.
And I would tell any person, young or old, it sounds almost cliche, but you have to find your passion. That will make your life it'll just be different.
Yes. I'll say a couple of things to that from my perspective. You're right. If I had a government job, pushing paper, doing something, I would do the same thing, obsess all day, but it would be about something other than my job.
Sure.
And, so I think after, this is my 29th year in the industry and owning a business, and for most of that time, I felt like everyone was like that internally, but I don't think that they are. I think it's whatever the percentage is, 10, 30% of us are that way. But I also think that, there's then the difference is like your willingness to accept risk. And most people are very scared. Like, I'm a reasonably smart guy, but half of my company, those people are smarter than me. It's like, what makes me the boss? And what makes me continually successful? Do I just really get lucky at picking projects all the time? No, it's because I'm obsessed. And I've talked about it on here before. In America, we say 10,000 hours makes you an expert. In Japan, 40,000 hours. I have over 90,000 hours doing my job. Mm-hmm. And, because it's all I do every day is think about it, because I love it. So there's only been 2 years out of 29 where I felt like I had a job. And that was my second year after Remington bought my company, and it was my second year at SIG. They sucked. Because everyone else is more concerned about keeping their job than, doing something awesome. And like, I just want to do something awesome. And yeah, I'm lucky. Like, I'm fortunate. Like, I don't have to go to work every day, but I still wake up like, when I was 21, 22 years old, I cannot wait to get the next thing done. Like, I'm so excited. We're working on a new project now, and I annoy the hell out of the engineers. Like, I can't wait to get the thing done. And it's the same feeling that I had 6 years old when I saw Linda Carter, Wonder Woman on TV and saw that cleavage. I got to have that. That's my thing. I want that. And been passionate about boobies ever since. And it's the same thing with guns. Like, when we're working on a project, I cannot wait. The next thing's always the greatest thing. And so now I get it. It's like my passion and my willingness to risk, because that high feels so good to me that I will risk everything on the next thing. And most people don't have that.
Yeah.
There's a saying that's something to the effect of, if you work really hard at something that you don't care about, that's stress. And if you work really hard about something you love, that's passion. And all three of us, I know for a fact, this industry that we're in, this is our passion. This is all we care about. This is all we think about.
Yeah.
5, all 6 of us.
You know, this has also been a journey for me over the last 5 years, because there was this expectation when I started my company. Okay, so first I'm labeled entrepreneur, then I have to be the CEO. Well, I'm
the worst job
the
ever.
the least comfortable in anything I've ever done being called the CEO. I'm terrible at it. I'm all over the place. What I really want to do is stand in front of my computer or turn screws on my latest project, go out and shoot it. And so I can say it's been a real blessing to have support in our business, to have people that have different strengths, people that are gifted in leading a company.
Well, you recognizing that as the man that created it, I think, is also pretty rare, because I like to think of myself that way. Like, you go to my company or we talk like I'm passionate about marketing and I'm passionate about innovation. The rest of the stuff I'm not good at. And so I give up a lot of control because I want to accomplish something that like I can't do on my own, and I can't do with 5 people or 10 people. I have to have this big team. And so like you come to the office yesterday, there's 4 women that are in those front offices that run my life and run that company because their attention to detail, their structure, their focus on their particular job is just very different than I am. And that trust level and comfort level with them then allows me to do all of the stuff that I'm trying, because I need to also stay inspired. Like, does the podcast make sense for us? I'm not sure. Marketing is such bullshit. You can't ever really quantify it. But I enjoy it and I learn a ton. And I think sharing like our story from my perspective is important long-term for the company. But they allow me to do these things that are creative, because what is important is that I stay passionate about the business and I stay involved. Because if all we did was mass produce honey badgers, and that's all we did, and there was no use for 3D printing, there was no use for a ton of design engineers, there's no real new way to market it. It's just a thing to me. The company's just a thing. Like I get a great salary and I couldn't be happier, and I have, financially I don't need for anything, and my focus is then on the future of the company. What's the thing to do? And when I think about that, we're looking at like 8.6 right now. Was there, what's the reason for me to do 8.6? There's not. There's just not. I can't tax ammo, and I've thought about it for 2 years. How can I tax ammo? Companies to build guns in it, companies to load it. You just can't for it to be successful. And so I have the greatest engineer in our entire industry alive today, in my opinion. And that asshole is obsessed with this. From everything we learned from 300 Blackout till now. And we did the first concept for 8.6 10 or 12 years ago when we did 300 Blackout. And we're in a position now where he became interested in that again a few years ago, and he has been obsessed with it. And it's all he does, to the point where he's no longer in charge of engineering. And he is happy about that, because he just started staying at home and working on this thing and fast twist and all this, and he got into something. And my, and I feel like it's my job, whether it's, Thomas, who's a very creative guy and I think is integral in the future of our company and what we're doing. Ethan with engineering is now, and it's like, that fucking asshole. He's a terrible communicator. He's an asshole, but he's brilliant. And we work great together. And so my job is to figure out how to make that make sense for our company. And so there's, we can sell products and make money, or I want to own this company until I'm sick of working or too old to do it. And so there's also brand equity and building a brand, and how do we do that? Like, if I'm going to spend $1 million a year on marketing, I'm not buying magazine ads. Shout out to Field Ethos. You guys are cool. I buy your ads because I love what you're doing, and they let us do whatever ads we want. Yeah, you got the shirt on, my man. But, that is, listen, this is the homies that have that place, but I love the culture they're creating and the way they're representing hunting in our, and connecting it with our industry. So I support them. They're doing a printed magazine, which, hey, it was nice. On the last flight to Africa, Wi-Fi goes out for a few hours, or the thing goes down where I can't watch movies and all. had that Field Ethos magazine, so I read some articles. Shout out to Pat Hemingway, good article. And so that's supporting these guys, and I think it's my job when we talk about as a CEO. Is that Thomas? What are you doing? Turn your phone off, Thomas.
Why are you always blaming me? What's me? You
I hate when you talk back.
You straight blame me every time.
Because 90% of the time is you. It's
I
like
think-
an educated guess.
I think Thomas was just calling Aaron.
He was?
Sabotage.
I can't talk right now, Thomas.
Sorry, my son is asking me some ridiculous questions.
So would you say that Ethan now, what's driving him is passion for that project? He's kind of shares your enthusiasm for it?
I love dogging Ethan because I also love Ethan more than most people on this planet, and we've been together a long time, so I can talk shit. I let Ethan do what he wants for several reasons, because otherwise I would have to just strangle him, or he would make my life difficult because he won't listen, and he lives a pirate life himself, and he's so brilliant at what he does, and he thinks differently than the average mechanical engineer. And he's not even the smartest engineer we have, but he is the best, and he thinks the most creatively. And I think that will always be the case. And we've worked together now for almost 15 years. But I have faith and confidence in him.
Do you do aptitude tests at Q? Because I feel like you've referred to all your employees now with a hierarchy of who's the smartest, where they land, and it kind of makes me uncomfortable.
Well, it's smart. There might be 2 dumbasses at our place out of 50, but everybody, is kind of
No names.
I mean, I do believe everybody's smarter than me in some way at our company, but
Sure.
overall, you spend a few days there and you'll see it. And I love it because it challenges me, but I have faith in Ethan. And Ethan and I, over time, when we met, we had sort of common goals. And that has kind of continued. And it's kind of like the destination. Ethan and I know what we want to be. To just survive without slitting our wrists. Like we gotta innovate. We got to do something cool. And it has to be something that's useful. It doesn't have to be for the military or for the police or fun or for hunting, but it has to serve a purpose. Do something that's not available out there, and we have to do it better than anyone.
I have a question for you, Kevin. We have thrown around the word innovate, and we hear it in our industry a lot. And
everybody claims it.
Oftentimes, it means a different color. And I've struggled with defining innovation to people in my company, ownership. But I think we know in our heart what it is, whether it meets the bar, or not. And so what does innovation mean to you?
To me, it doesn't have to be an entire gun. It doesn't have to be, it can be a finish. It can be anything that, in my mind, that improves an existing experience or product that is noticeable and desirable by a novice. And so you really have to do something that makes a difference. And in some ways, fast twist, how does that make a difference? That's a hard one to explain. So how do I explain that? We do all the typical testing. We do the gel test, high-speed video, we show that. But then me and Thomas, we go to Africa and kill animals that can kill you that weigh 2,000 pounds with a 5-pound gun with a 10-inch barrel. And then we do it with subsonic.
And a 20-round mag.
It's just really making a difference. And sometimes it's very difficult to explain. Like the honey badger was a real passion for us. And it didn't make sense at the beginning. The honey badger wasn't available commercially for 10 or 12 years. But when you pick up the honey badger next to another AR that's that size and that thing is 20% lighter, like that little bit makes a huge difference. Is the honey badger innovation? No. Is it? Yes, it is. It weighs much lighter, and you have to take the weight out of the entire gun. it fit into a certain package that was useful for guys and was a certain weight, and it gave them a capability they didn't have. Like it replaced an MP5 SD, so we end up 30% lighter than an MP5, and we can shoot 5 times farther, and it's 5 times more lethal. That is an innovation, but it's also an AR-15 that's 300 Whisper that existed for years. So what's the innovation that has made that one of the most well-known guns in the entire world? Even if you don't speak English and you're not an American, Call of Duty, shout out, helped out a lot, thank you. But then it only has sustainment because it is very useful. And it's practical. Like I use the gun all the time. It is better than everything else out there. Is the reason I use the gun. And I think the same thing with the Fix. The Fix is a bolt-action rifle. Big deal. Why is it so popular? Why is it so much better? Why is it so much more useful? So sometimes you're right. Like innovation is hard. Like everybody wants to do like a new gun like you've done. Like that's cool, but that's difficult.
I think that for me, innovation equals risk. So, and by that, what I mean is you're taking a risk. You've taken lots of risks to say, I'm going to put this out. I'm not going to ask the marketplace if this is what they want. This is what I want. This is what I believe is good or better or best. And I'm going to do it. And I'm going to put my money where my mouth is. I'm going to take the risk. And I believe in myself. I believe in my ideas. And I'm going to do it.
It is easy to be anonymous on the internet and talk shit while you're at your job selling insurance. For sure. I agree. That's you get an opinion equal to mine on the internet. But in reality, nobody gives a shit what you're typing. But for me to spend $1 million, $2 million, $3 million, risk something to do something because that's badass and I would buy it. The Mini Fix, best example I have currently. Well, like when I wanted to do the Mini Fix, Ethan kind of got it right away because we had been down that H&R single shot 300 blackout route. And, so Ethan and I agree on these things. All the other engineers are like, who the hell is going to buy that? A $3,000 300 blackout that's a bolt gun? It's stupid. It's like, no, it's going to be the most fun gun you're going to own. And that's what it is like this. It's like there's no one that, look, we sent Demolition Ranch. They invited us down to do a video on 8.6 new cartridge. And they treated us so great. And if you had to buy an ad or something on there, I couldn't afford it. You couldn't afford it. They invited us down and did a video. We get what? In less than 2 weeks, 2 million views on it. It's great for our company. Oh, it's more than that. So we send them a Mini Fix as a thank you. And it's just, they like to shoot, and it's a cool gun. And you can't do product placement with them without paying a fortune. And they send us a message, text me, this gun is incredible. It is the most fun gun we own. We love it. 2 days later, we're doing a new video, and we're using the Mini Fix in the entire thing. Like, I'm not paying them to do that. I just sent them a gun, and there were no strings attached. And the gun was a thank you for being so cool to us. And, he's got a room full of guns. And that was a great example. So that's where... yeah, I'm willing to risk, but then it's also, I got 90,000 hours, so you start to sort out. I make less mistakes than I used to picking products.
Sure.
Yeah, but to me, if I will spend my money on it, and it's a gun because I'm very spoiled with guns, then I believe it's a good product and others are going to want it.
I've wrestled with that at my age and, as I've progressed in life, that I'm not the typical consumer. You're not the typical consumer. So I feel like I have to be careful. I have to ask other people. But when you go to SHOT Show or you go to NRA or whatever, and you show off 3D printed, that's the way I usually do it. I show off a 3D printed model.
Me as well.
And you get quite a bit of validation right away. If everybody says, "Whoa, what is that? What is that?" You're like, I think I'm onto something.
Yeah, I think, that is, you start to recognize that over time, and also surround yourself with people that will tell you the truth, which is hard.
Absolutely.
Another shout out to Thomas. He's one of the few at the company that doesn't hold back. He's wrong sometimes, but overall, it's a nice reality check.
And you've got to know the difference between those folks that are telling you the truth and just saying, hey, honestly, I don't think this is going to do well. And then there are just haters out there that are just not going to support you no matter what you do. And they're just going to say, oh, it's different, so I don't understand it. I don't like it.
Yeah, I mean, there's always that. And what I've learned over time is, you can grow up and be a SIG or a, traditional gun company does traditional marketing and stay out of the fray and not put yourself out there and spend millions of dollars on print and television ads and try to, win hearts and minds in Bass Pro Shop like that, or you just come out and you say what's on your mind. Because I can tell you, when we were doing the 320 at SIG and we were going to launch that, I'm in the marketing meeting, and there's a guy in charge of, and I like him, so I'm not going to call him out right now. He's not in charge of marketing at SIG anymore. But he was there, and he was just doing the traditional role, which maybe is why he's not in charge of marketing anymore. But he was like, hey, we're SIG, and we're the greatest gun company ever. And I love SIG. And I also loved Remington, and I wanted to help build Remington back up to the greatest American gun company. And I loved SIG. I believed in what they were doing for the most part. And they did some like dumb stuff, in my opinion, that I didn't like that XI or whatever. But overall, it's like, why are we beating around the bush all the time? Because I find even with the ladies, like, just be direct. Like, my kids and women see through all the bullshit. So it's like I've found that I'm either just not good at it, or it's just easier for me just to say what's on my mind, because they're going to know you're lying. But they were like, okay, so the way we're going to market this 320 is we're SIG and we're awesome, and so that's why you're going to buy our gun. I was like, that is so stupid. He's like, well, it's the best striker gun out there. And I was like, in the meeting, I'm like, is it? Absolutely. And it's not a very technical individual.
Can you explain to me what that expression, beating around the bush, when you're referring to ladies, what's that mean?
Exactly what you think it means.
What does he think it means?
There's no carpet. It's all hardwood floors. So I don't do that. So you just straight in there. But in this meeting, I'm like, well, he's like, yeah, it's the best striker gun ever developed. And I was like, is it? Is it better than a Glock? Absolutely. Tell me how it's better than a Glock. Like, I'm all ears. And he looks over at some of the engineers in the room and is like, is it better than a Glock? And my favorite engineer in our industry that I talk shit about all the time, that I won't mention currently, who works for us doing 8.6, he's in the meeting, and he was part of this gun. And, but they put parameters on him there on what they can do. And the gun was not what Ethan wanted to do. But in the parameters they gave, he did his portion of the gun. And Ethan's sitting back, and he goes, and he's like, what does that mean? And he's like, well, ask me how it's better. He's like, the grip angle's better. It takes steel magazines. And so then I was like, well, how's it worse? He's like, the bore axis is way too fucking high, and it should, it's cocking on close, cock on open. Or he goes through like all these things and totally loses the marketing guy right away. And it was like, my man, here's your goal. Like, your sales goal is 10% of Glock sales. That's your goal. All we got to do is do an ad that says, yo, Glock, you weren't the first, but you do it the best. Thanks for getting us this far. We fixed the grip angle and put a steel mag in there, and that's way better than what you're doing. Absolutely not. We do not talk about other gun companies and do all this. And I was like, man, I just told you how to meet your sales goal. If you want another way, but that's the way you market. Like, why are we going to talk shit? Like, we can't say that it's better than a Glock because you're going to sound like a fucking idiot. But these two things are better. Right. Like, that's enough. That's enough to sell 10%. But yeah, you can't do it. It's like, if you want to make the best gun, then let the engineers make the best gun. But,
And often when you put in timelines and budgets and all of these, barriers for the engineers to do what they really want to do, that's when you come out with products that aren't quite what they should be.
It's cool. Well, okay. So I'm all excited now because I love this kind of shit. So you get to hear, what the hell is Ron Dan doing over here?
Yeah, so I cannot overstate how excited we are to have Ron Dan on board. And I got to tell a little story. I could tell stories all day about Ron Dan, but Ron called me on my cell phone the day our press release dropped, and it wasn't supposed to drop. It got leaked back in 2017. We had not shipped the first gun. And
the first one of these,
the first LifeCard, we had not shipped it yet. We were probably a month away from shipping the first gun. And I floated a press release to a distributor because we wanted to tell them, we're on this, we're paying attention, we're going to promote this so that you're going to do well with this. And so Ron got it on some wire. And
yeah, he is. He's deep, balls deep in the industry.
My cell
Rumors
phone
and
was
stuff.
listed because back in the day, I was Trailblazer Firearms. I was the only person that worked there. And so Ron calls me on my cell phone probably July, August 2017, and he said, I want to buy this gun. And he was working at Chattanooga as a buyer. And I'm like, I didn't know.
Visionary.
Yeah, I didn't know what I was doing at this time. I don't know if I know what I'm doing now. But I said, Ron, I would love to sell these to you. I'm really flattered that you called, that you want to buy them, but I've made an exclusive deal with another distributor. And I'm not saying that's the right thing, but it is what I said I would do, and I'm going to stand by it. I'm going to do that. And he respected that, and we agreed that we'd just stay in touch. So we met in person, I think SHOT Show 2018, and I had trouble finding him because I didn't know what he looked like.
I was going to say, what, he blended?
He didn't know I had a beard.
Yeah.
I didn't know he was bald. I think that was it.
Yeah. I get that a lot.
But over the years, over these last 5 years, we have stayed in touch. I've followed him in his journeys, working at different places. And he was just somebody that you would refer to as a friend. And I was honored to consider him a friend back in the day. And I think I showed him my 3D printed new rifle, probably SHOT Show 2018, 2019, something like that. And at the time he was working for Vertex. And I said, I'd love to, I think this will fit in a Vertex in a Gamut 2.0. And I'd love to try it. And he's like, I'll send you.
What is that?
That's a backpack. You
Okay. This is the backpack.
there's a bunch of them at the office.
Yeah.
And he said, I'll send you some samples, and he did that. And, we gave them to all the guys, and we tried it with the 3D printed models and all that. And he's like, keep in touch. And over the years, that's kind of been the flavor of it. And then last year, Joy and I went out and spent a weekend with him out in Bozeman. And it was really just to pick his brain, see him where he lived, and go have dinner. And he was just so encouraging in this project. He said, I believe in you. I believe in this project. And then we ran into each other this spring at NRA in Houston. And at one point, I really was just making a joke because I wasn't looking to hire anybody. And I said to somebody else, but in Ron's presence, I said, if I had somebody like Ron Dan, I wouldn't need sales reps. And, I was making a joke.
Wouldn't that be nice?
I was making a joke. And so he texts me the next day, and he's like, if you ever want to have that conversation, just let me know. I mean, I picked up the phone right then. I'm like, what do you mean? And he's like, man, I would love to work together. And so, I mean, really pretty fast, I think over 3 or 4 weeks, we brought you out and we put it together. And Ron he's just become part of the family, part of the team, and he has hit the ground running. And I couldn't be happier to have him on board. And really, he's taken so much pressure off of me so that I can do what I love.
Well, doing what?
So my role at the company is president at the company. It's my official title, but really it's Aaron, like he said, what he wants to do is wrench on prototypes and be in front of his computer designing new guns, focusing on everything that he's passionate about, and not everything that needs to be done for a company is fun or exciting. And so that's, between myself, Aaron, and then there's, one other guy. Everyone at the company carries a lot of weight because it's a fairly small company.
Yeah, small companies, that's always the deal. Yeah.
Yeah, but there's everyone's carrying, a lot of weight at the company, and there's a couple of us that are taking, I think, a big chunk of what Aaron was doing before off this plate, and that's really what our focus is. So I've been fortunate to get a chance to work with Spencer, who's our director of sales and marketing, and we've been really focusing on the sales and marketing aspect at first, but eventually our plan is to just keep focusing on the company and growing it.
Yeah, I mean, a company, there's just lots of things that you got to move forward, and it's hard to do it all at once. And so, I mean, I understand my role at the company too. Like, what I want to be doing is with the engineers, asking them questions, pushing them, and making all the the decisions and the minutia of the product path. And then I want to be in marketing, doing stuff that's fun and creative and explains our product or separates us in that way. And I care nothing about the other parts, but it's all so important. Like QC is another part. Like right now we're trying to push that forward and get ahead because it's so important. Like what I want is the most innovative and greatest quality gun company in the history of the world. It's like big goal. And okay, how do we do that? But at the end of the day, people touching stuff, you got to have good vendors. You got to be making good parts in-house. It's all got to go together, do all the things. And so QC, it's not a sexy part of the company internally, but it is vital to what we're trying to do. So QC is just as important as the marketing team, as the engineers, because you can design the greatest thing in the world. If you have shit parts and you don't have anybody doing the quality control, you're going to have a shit product. Nobody's going to care. It's like having a great idea. That's wonderful, but how do you execute and ship it? That's a whole other thing.
If I could go back to Ron for just a second, and I'll try not to get emotional, but when we interviewed Ron, and my business partners and we interviewed Ron, and they were somewhat incredulous. Why do you want to come here? Why do you want to come work for little old Trailblazer? And what I heard him say, I'm not saying this is what he said, but what I heard him say, two-part answer. One of the things that he said was, I want to help Aaron and Joy's dreams come true.
That's awesome.
That was super meaningful to me.
Yeah.
And
he's probably a sales guy.
He probably is a sales guy.
But that's great to have. Because it's what you really do as a leader. You need to get everybody on the same team. And it doesn't matter in the end if it's everyone's exact dream, because like what I wanted when I started Q isn't what I want exactly right now. And it ain't going to be exactly what I want in 5 years. But if we all have sort of the common goal of we're going to go there, you got to have people that are flexible and open-minded, but also have, perseverance to push through all the bullshit and take you to that place.
And Ethan, like you think about Ethan supporting you through everything. And I know, I know that's a difficult relationship at times. And I don't know even from what you've said, but I just know Ethan personally. And I know that probably does have some, difficulties that come up from time to time.
It's always going to be difficult at times if it's correct, I think, because you're going to push each other, and that's not always comfortable. Timing's not always good, and you don't always agree. But if you trust someone, what do you got, Thomas?
So, coming from marketing at Q, a lot of the times it's easy for marketing because our guns kind of sell themselves. It's simple. And what I see here is that these are the types of things that honestly sell themselves. So I'm assuming marketing isn't like crazy difficult at Trailblazers.
There's been I don't want to say very little marketing, but relatively speaking, there hasn't been a whole lot of marketing. Fortunately, you're exactly right. They has been able to sell itself a fair amount. But if we want to get to where we're 10 times the size that we are now, we are going to have to start marketing and just letting more people know. And, when I told Kevin, hey, I'm going to Trailblazer Firearms, most people, it was on the Argentina trip that I announced that I was going there. And everyone was like, we don't even know what that is. And these are all people from the gun industry. So there's still a lot of market awareness that we have to do. But you're right. Once people see it, they kind of get it right away.
Well, on a bigger scale, we're also involved in that now. It is great. But I think where you're great in marketing is, you can come up with a product that markets itself, that people are going to want to have in their blogs. They're going to want to talk about. They want to show their friends. So in the end, you're kind of in charge of marketing, and that's the way I think at our. Though you guys just gonna white claw it up all day, huh? Go ahead. I got you a little 12-pack in there. Go bananas. So, that part of marketing is easy, but even for us, there's so just about everybody in guns knows the honey badger, but maybe a quarter, a third, half the gun stores have heard of Q. In some ways, that's a huge failure maybe. But no, we have a huge back order. That's a huge opportunity. So now, my job is always to make work and our culture fun and everyone's job as easy as possible, and then challenge you in new ways. Like if all you're doing is what everybody else in the industry is doing, you're probably not the guy for the job for me. But now you got to come up with new ways to, like, how are we going to engage these gun stores? Because we want to represent ourselves in a different way than others. Like, how are you going to go do that thing? And that's a challenge for us now, too, which is exciting as we grow production.
So we talked to some of these big gun companies, and they talk about, hey, we can only sell 240,000 of these a year. This is going to be a dud for us. And then I start thinking, I'm like,
Taurus, Ruger,
wow.
Sig, yeah.
You know, and I'm not going to call it. And some of them have great, you know, Brett at Taurus, you know, I've got to give him a shout out because he is taking what is a huge company that measures their units in millions, and he's taken in hundreds of thousands, and he's taken it, and almost everyone that's involved in that company at a leadership level is an actual gun person. And when I think about these gun companies that, you know, hey, you start measuring and, hey, 240,000 of these a year would be a failure, those are the meetings that you walk into, and the marketing guy's like, hey, this is better than a Glock. It's like, okay, well, why? It's like they're not really carrying a gun. They're not really into it. Whereas a company, you know, our size, you know, at Trailblazer, at Q, everyone that's involved in a decision-making process loves this stuff. Like Aaron and I, you know, we are surrounded by guns. We think about guns. We carry guns every single day. From a hunting aspect, you and I are always thinking about ways that we can innovate or, you know, make this easier, make it better, make it more efficient for a hunter.
Yeah, I think really about efficiency with hunting now. Yeah.
And there's just so many people at these big corporate companies that are so removed from actually what are we doing that they're just counting widgets and boxes.
Yeah, I mean, it's what are you trying to do? You know, I mean, at the end of the day, we all have different goals or aspirations. And I've been in so many of those meetings with big companies, either who we partner with or who I worked for. And when you think in those terms, it's just I disconnect. So I'm not good for a huge company. But I think for our company, I'm great because it's real simple. If we're going to do it, I have to be able to look people in the eye and tell them why it's better and it be true. Because I'm fucking useless otherwise. Like, what am I going to do? Like, that's the only way I'm good at marketing is when I'm so comfortable I can say whatever the fuck I want. And, you know, but the rules are we're not going to lie, you know, and we're not going to cheat and steal. We're not going to lie to consumers, and we're going to take care of them. And we have to justify, you know, I don't want to make millions of guns because it's just a factory. I do want to grow the company and it be, you know, tremendous. But we have to, if we're putting the money we put into innovation, and, you know, when you innovate a new gun, like your new 9mm, like it's cool. We can all go build ARs, and we build the Sugar Weasel, and we put some Q in that gun. But it's not a ground-up innovation. And when you do that, it's so expensive. Like, you put so much money in to it. It's like you can't just float it all. Like, innovation is expensive.
It is. It's an uphill battle, and I get questioned all the time, you know, why? Why are we doing this? Why should we do this? Why does anybody need this? And I'm just, in my bones, I feel like this is something that needs to be done. And that's why I'm doing it. I want something that is great. I want it to be great. And that doesn't mean everybody has to agree with me that it's great. But
yeah, you'll never get that.
You won't get absolute, you know, agreement. But I think you'll get, we have gotten plenty of people that said this is amazing.
Yeah, I always say, like, how much of the gun buying market do I need? You know, like, I don't need to be,
that's right.
You know, like me taking flack by anonymous kids on Reddit, like, I don't care. Like, all you're doing is helping me. But it's because I need, you know, originally we needed 1% of the gun buying public. I would love to get 5%. You think I give a fuck about 20% or 10% that, like, oh, Kevin's an asshole or their guns are overpriced? Well, get you a better job, dude. Like, I don't know, because I'm not asking the public, like you said earlier, like in Henry Ford famous quote, where if you ask people what they wanted when, you know, he did the car and the production line, it's like they would have said a faster horse. It's like, so who cares what they're thinking? Steve Jobs had the same mentality, you know, because I think with the iPhone, right, he only went with AT&T or whoever it was because they were the only provider that he didn't have to change the phone. Right. And that was important to him. So they got the, I don't remember who it was.
No, it was
AT&T. So they got an exclusive for like 5 years or whatever on the iPhone. But and for him, he's like, I'm no better than all of you. This is right. I'm so far advanced, you guys don't know it yet, but trust me.
I love that. I love that because it resonates so much for me. And without
putting your money where your mouth is.
Trying to be arrogant, it's, hey, I think I actually do know. I know what's good. I at least know what's part of what's good.
Every guest we have keeps their elbows on the table.
Is
and it's
that okay?
hilarious. No, it's fine. Yeah, it's fine. It's just an
Not me.
observation that I make.
That's how you fuck your clap up and you get
That's true.
mocked.
Yeah, it's
Not
true.
me.
Thomas, I didn't get tattoos till I was 46 years old.
I like
so
those.
I kind of like to show them off. You
Yeah,
know?
Those are dope.
what'd you get? What are these?
So the first ones I got.
Wait, I'm also over 46, so hold on one second.
The first two I got were these arrows with my two sons, Spencer and Stuart. And I won't take my shirt off, but I got
Thank you.
I got joy on my chest.
Oh, that's the way to get a late night back rub.
And then 2 years later, I got this with my siblings. I have 5 siblings,
Yeah.
so there's 6 of us. So we got this hexagon for all of us. We all got the same thing.
Wait. What's? It's different though. It's not just a hexagon.
So everybody has their own part of the hexagon that's not shaded. I'm the second in the birth order, so this is my older brother. This is
so
me.
that's how you picked it.
And everybody got their own. Moves around, so they're the same but different.
Cool.
And then right after that, I got our Trailblazer. I like to call this. Not many people know this, but I like to call this the Fight or Flight logo.
Oh, so you have the Spartan mask
You
and
got
some wings.
Defense and you got offense.
I think the best defense is that good old offense.
That's right.
So my offense part of my tattoo is going to be way bigger.
Absolutely. But
Defense is basically me balled up in the corner crying.
Are we allowed to say anything about the
The Narwhals?
the Narwhals?
Heck yeah. Speaking of tattoos, did I tell you? So I was in Argentina. Ron Dan poured us a couple drinks, and before you know it, my creative juices are just flowing all over Ron. And
oh, I don't like that word image.
so we start talking about stuff, and it's like we all hunt together, and it's just such a great time. And when I talk about hunting, trying to encourage people to, it's just an experience you share with your buddies. And a hunt is just a cool thing because you never know what's going to happen. It's challenging, it's difficult, it's emotional. So it's just a good process for people that you love to get closer. And that sounded really bizarre, but that's the truth from my standpoint. So we're sitting around drinking, and it's like, I think we should have a hunting club like a motorcycle club. And it's like we could do the jackets and the whole thing. And so we go through this whole hour deal. And so I came up, so our mascot is the narwhal. And then because I didn't even know until my children were little, and I'm reading them books at night. And I thought narwhal was mythical. I didn't know, but they'd learned about it in school. And they're like, "No, Dad, that's a real animal." I was like, "Bullshit! They're teaching you guys bullshit at school." And
Is that like a unicorn of the sea?
yeah,
Exactly.
So
you see it in Elf when he's like, "Hey, buddy, hope you find your dad."
my daughter's like 8 years old, 7 years old, and she Googles it on her iTouch and shows me. I was like, "Oh my God!" And so it's hilarious. But yeah, and so then we have a greeting for each other. And you have the secret handshake, and ours is through the ice. And so we came up with a whole thing. So
It's a real gang.
So every real member has to get a tattoo that I'm designing. And then we're all going to have, because Jason Vincent, he's got to get it or he's not in.
He's not in.
He voted off the island. He'll get it. He'll get it. He's talking bullshit. And then so Jason Vincent on that trip takes one of the gauchos in Argentina. He's got a single action Ruger Vaquero and 44 mag, just a notch rear and a blade front, and takes it and goes and stalks this feral goat, and at 63 yards caps that thing. We got it on video. Tom's made an awesome video of it.
Dropped it.
And so it was like, oh my God, these are the reasons you go on a hunt. And the turkey video was another great one, and then some other stuff we can't talk about. But
Why not?
so
Statute of limitations for Argentinian laws.
no, because Christine and that little Wolverine, I don't want to say this and then go to the office and hear about it. So bless her heart, she's wonderful. So it's like, okay, so now every charter member is getting a custom single action. They're all going to be the same except you can do your own grips. So these are kind of the rules. And then, so every charter member, those are the guys that were on the trip. Everybody else, I love this. You can be a prospect like in a motorcycle club, and you get a 22 single action. So you got a 22 until You step up, and then you're going to get, I don't know, for what did we say, 45
I think
long
45
Colt
long Colt.
is what we're going to have. And so it's the Narwhals. And so it's going to be my first tattoo. It's going to be a narwhal that I designed for my hunting club. But it was a whole great thing. I mean, we got it all covered. We have a brilliant mascot, and we have I don't know. We need rings. I think we're going to do a ring.
Yeah.
Some secret ring. But we got the whole thing. I mean, even
Secret
the greeting.
handshake.
Hey, through the ice, Thomas. What's up?
So me and James are like members by proxy, right? Like we're just
No,
I don't know
y'all
about-
prospects.
Are we honorary?
I don't know. You get some kind of.
I think I'm better than I get 9 mil at least.
Thomas, I'm voting in, but I don't know James. Like I don't.
I think James is going to be a legend. I think he's prospect right now.
Talk to me about the Spain thing, and is the teammates going to Spain?
I think
Narwhals
I
do
think
Spain.
wait. I think we hook you up. I think 357 Magnum for Thomas, and he gets like a 4-inch barrel, 3-inch barrel. Like that's what you got. I mean,
is that the
you,
one that
you did
breaks
shoot
my wrist if I shoot it?
No.
Spain. Yeah, so we're going to Spain with the Spanish Rad Robertson, and we're going to do some
Alvaro.
IBEX. Yeah, Alvaro. So we're going to do IBEX.
Is that
He got invited by Jason Vincent.
Then,
Are we filming?
Then you may be in prospect status.
Are we filming?
Are we filming?
Hey.
Why else would I take you?
I'm not
for
afraid
sweet
of 22
spooning.
LR.
Am I? Can we both go film? Is this an invitation for the team, or is
Man,
this
this is like
Thomas is
when
always
you're
invited.
wanting to date the prom queen. Well, can my friend go too?
Thomas is always invited. James, your prospect status. We're not saying you're not invited, but
James is a legend so far.
in time.
I mean, I'm definitely bringing Spencer if I go.
Oh,
There's too many guys
That's a
now.
big
Hold on,
trip.
now
That's a big
we're-
trip.
I ain't going. There's too many people.
Yeah, of course. If we're going to Spain, we're gonna film. And of course, it'll take 2 of you. What?
See what I do for my friends? Like
Yeah, you did it for Jay too, and then there we are trying to shoot an
Jay
Elon.
did a fantastic job. You know it.
Oh, you know you can edit this out. Why don't you just stop lying? Because normally,
You
like,
see that zebra video? Dude, he was top notch.
do you remember that Elon hunt?
I do.
Do you remember the audio? Fucking douchebags! Why don't you just shoot it from here?
Fucking
Oh
cunts,
man,
dude. That's
you know it
pretty
was a
good
really
stuff.
good video. Remember your that first buffalo?
Oh no, I don't, because I don't have a video of.
Oh wait a second, never mind, Thomas.
Oh,
You were-
he was wearing his South Boston tree climbers on that trip. Like, oh my god! Thanks for buzzkill. He just fucked the whole vibe up.
Ron's coming in here choosing violence.
All right, I got my LifeCard here, new one with a silencer. I got my Stone Face IPA. I don't want any hipster comments either. All right, I drink it because it gives me that good buzz and tastes delicious. So we're gonna move along. So Ron Dan pulls the old sales speech with "He just wants your dreams to come true," and it was very sweet though. What's the second part of that conversation? Like, how's he become the co-captain of Team Trailblazer?
Yeah, so I think that I'll speak first and then you fill in, but I think that for sure we all took him seriously. There's no question about that. We took him seriously, and I backed him up from what I know in the industry. But Ron, you mentioned it earlier. Ron is one of the best connected people in our industry. He's never met a stranger. Everybody that he's ever met is a friend. When you talk to him, he's like, well, we could talk to so-and-so. I mean, I'll text him right now, and it's anybody. It literally is anybody in the industry.
Yeah, great resource, especially you not being from the industry, and because Ron and I started similar ages, and we're in similar background as far as introduction to guns and becoming passionate about it, and so because I tease him about that sales thing, because it's the difference in him and other people is he is connected and he is extremely knowledgeable. And yeah, you don't find that a ton.
For me, it's been one of the most difficult things. I felt comfortable in what I was doing as far as designing, and we can make it safe, we can make it work, but it's like, how do I make everyone aware of this? And Ron is literally that missing puzzle piece for us.
Yeah, I mean, because we were talking earlier, like, a lot of people can come up with a good idea, But how do you translate that into a business?
Well, there's some steps in between there that we talked about last night at dinner. There's some follow through involved, right? You know, from good idea or just idea. And I'm totally with you. I think there's so many people that have good ideas, and I applaud them for them. And I say, bring them to me, because I'll vet them and I'll bring them to the market if I like them. But choose what you're passionate about and go through all of these steps that are required to make a return, to build a business, to hire employees, to, whatever.
You and I probably share the same thing. The whatever I got to do, not have to get a job I don't like. Like,
exactly.
I really like this thing, so let's just keep it on the rails.
I don't want to go back.
Nobody likes going back.
You said something earlier that cracked me up because it's how I feel. I am or would be a terrible employee.
Oh.
I'm a terrible employee. I'm not hireable. I can't go back to work. I have no prospects. I'm on LinkedIn. Nobody wants me to come work for them. I would be terrible, but I think I'm good at what I do. I'm good at what I do.
Yeah, I agree.
And even though I've actually probably taken a demotion in title, I'm still technically the CEO, but I don't function as the CEO. I'm really a product designer. I'm not an engineer. I dropped out of college, Kevin.
Eugene Stoner was also not an engineer. He seemed to get a couple things right.
Yeah, but I love what I do. I think maybe have some aptitude for it, and definitely have passion for it, and that's what drives me.
Passion and work ethic.
And I'm not afraid to say I'm wrong. I'm not afraid to say I need help. And what else? What else do you need?
Good team.
Absolutely.
When I had that interview question, like, why Trailblazer, which a lot of people in the industry have asked me, like, hey, that seems like a really small company, or it doesn't seem like the direction you were going. Why'd you pick them? And I said there was 3 P's that I mentioned. It was people, which was Aaron and Joy was the number one thing for me as to why I wanted to go there. 2 was the products. I truly did believe in the products, and the story that Aaron said earlier, I was the first person to call. When that press release went out, I said, that's cool. I want to buy that. And and not just the LifeCard, which was the flagship product and the first product, but, we have the Pivot now, and I've seen what's in the hopper for new products that we have coming out. So I truly believe in the products that we have coming out. I truly believe that we're not just going to be another Me Too, one of the big gun companies, and we all know the names of them, but we're going to continue to drive innovation. So it's people, products, and then the true passion behind it. Like, everybody at the company is really passionate about what they do, which means everybody there's no pride, there's no weird, like, oh no, that's not my job or anything like that. Everyone's just driving forward. And that's been a big thing for me, is that's continued. I've continued to see that that's exactly what's going on at the company. We're driving to come out with new products and new innovation, and we want to make items that are going to make a difference in the industry. That's what we're going for.
Yeah. Well, look, you were right, but the fact that you did 3 Ps, that's salesmanship. Man.
Salesmanship.
Yeah. No, but it's interesting for me. If you, I don't know how other people are, but if I had a choice of any of the big gun companies after being there a couple times, it would be my last choice compared to a small company starting up that has a niche and it's based in innovation and something different. And whether it is for a self-defense reason or it's just for fun, but it's in our industry, and it is innovation because there's not something like it out there available. And it's something that I want. And like, can I tell you why I want this? Like, I don't know if I really had to say. It's because it's cool, it's clever, it's quality, and, especially that threaded barrel version, that's just so fun. Like, there's no way that anybody that likes shooting at all could have been with us yesterday. We're trying to shoot that can way too far away, and you don't have a good time. With the silencer on, I mean, this thing was stupid quiet, and it is amazing how good you did with the ergonomics considering how little you had to work with. But grip angle, just everything on it is really good. It makes it enjoyable to shoot.
You know, it's funny. Even Ron, recently we were in a meeting, and he was wanting to attach some superlatives to this gun. You know, could we say it's the smallest or the lightest or the quietest? And I'm not the judge of that, but my friends at North American Arms love their stuff, the North American Arms mini revolvers. And
that's cool. That was innovative for the time, too, even though it's just a revolver.
For sure. And I get the biggest kick out of, running into somebody and they say, well, I tell them about this gun and they say, well, that's cool. But the smallest gun is one of the North American Arms mini revolvers. And I said to Ron recently, I said, listen.
Really? Because it's about yay wide.
I brought one out and I said, find one dimension, length, width, height, thickness, that the North American Arms revolver is smaller than this gun when it's folded up. I mean, granted, when it's folded up, it's not ready to fire. And it is, or another test is, go ahead and cram your North American mini revolver into an Altoids tin. And it's not possible. It will not go.
Or your wallet, or your change pocket.
It just won't go.
This will go in, unless you're Thomas and wearing your wife's jeans. This, if you're a man, this goes and you wear normal jeans.
Be a man.
This goes into your change pocket. Thomas, I love your jeans. You're a very sexy man, and if I liked little men that could sing, you would totally be my jam. But I would probably make you wear different pants. Yeah. But it is wonderful. You know, like I'm sitting here and when I like something, then it's probably in your nature too. Oh, this is awesome. What's the next thing?
Yeah.
And like we were talking about, I got that, your son asked me about the 40 millimeter last night, and I got out that M203 and that standalone. It's like, I love 40 millimeter. That's cool. What'd be cooler is the thing was 2 barrels, because then you don't ever take your eyes off the target, and you're going to make a hit. You might not make it your first shot, the second shot, bam, you got it. So I just think with this, it's like, oh, man, is there space where it could be a double barrel? Like a Derringer style, like over, under, bam, 2 shots, because I told you about, he better not have pulled on my lawn. Okay, he's good. So the Dave, shout out to Dave, PH over at Crusader, and does the filming when Thomas isn't available because he has prior engagements.
Or climbing up a tree.
Yeah, or messes up a dangerous game hunt by climbing trees.
Ron, you were there when I stood my ground against the buffalo. You were there.
You were with us when we shot the water buffalo?
Oh, yeah.
Is what he's saying true? Because he's talked a big game about
you
it.
did
when
stand
you
his
see
ground.
camera 2, which I threw to Ron mid-go, you shot it. Hey, when you look at camera 2, it's rather shaky.
Well, I was running towards the buffalo.
You can hear his breath
shaky. Yeah, because I was running towards the buffalo to back up Kevin.
1 second. So Dave, who we were talking about, you know, he was attacked by 2 guys. His uncle was attacked by 2 guys with machetes, and he killed them both with a North American Arms 22 mag. Yeah. You talk about, and took a machete to the forearm. You talk about nerves of steel. But also, the North American Arms, also a kind of a toy to me. The bad thing about the North American Arms, you can't put a silencer on it.
Right.
You know, but in the end, I actually know someone that defended his and his wife's life with a 22 and killed 2 guys that actually attacked him with a machete. So
I do have one story about someone saving a life with a LifeCard, and I'd love to tell it to you if you don't mind.
I would. Can I tell the buffalo story first before I forget?
Because
I want to. Yeah. Because that was old Alvaro. So we're riding around in Argentina. You probably don't know. So shot. So first day, our homie Pat shoots an incredible water buffalo. A herd happened to go through this dried salt lagoon. So we've got great video, and it's where the turkey was shot. It looks like it's snow. It's just, incredible visually. It couldn't have been better. And this herd of buffalo come through there, and Pat shoots this big bull, and it was awesome when we got there. And so, everybody, I mean, if you listen, if I hunt with you or you listen to the podcast, I like broken horn and skew horn stuff now, because like in Africa, I've shot just about everything except very exotic and rare stuff, and I'm trying to accomplish some of that now, some of the dangerous game stuff and other things like a Lord Derby or a bongo. But anyway, so we were in Argentina. Ron really wanted a red stag and shot the ultimate red stag, and I was open to whatever. And we're cruising around, actually looking for red stag, and there is a lone water buffalo with a bull with a broken horn, and I'm like, and all I have is my 6.5 Creedmoor, and a 16-inch, and I've shot a lot of animals, and so I have like, if I go to shooting, like I'm confident that I can get this done. Now I could be wrong, but so far so good. And so we're riding there with the Spanish Rad, Alvaro. Shout out my homie. And so I'm in the front seat, and I see it, and he's like, "Oh man, it's got a broken horn. You like the broken horn stuff?" And I was like, "Yeah, I do." I was like, "It does? You sure?" Because it was on the opposite side, and I was on the opposite side of the vehicle. He's like, "Yeah." I said, "Can I shoot it?" And he stops the car, and he looks, and he's like, "Yeah, he's an old bull. You could shoot him." And so I just jump out of the car, and he's at like not quite 100 yards, and he's in the brush. And I go to shoot him, and he stops and is looking at me, but through a bush. So I was like, eh. And he takes another step, and then all I have is his face, and I shoot him right in the face. Because it's a 6.5, and this is like a 20-something 100-pound animal. It's bigger than a Cape buffalo. And I shoot him in the first shot, bam, in the face, boom, goes down. There's dust everywhere. I know he's a big animal, and I've shot a bunch of animals. So there's all the brush in the way, so I just take off running. So shout out to Thomas, who had the balls this time, or didn't have his tree climbing shoes on, and takes off after me. So I get up there, and it was a good thing, because I get within like 10 yards, and he starts lifting up, and I shoot him again, and then I shoot him again, kill him with 6.5, and then
3 shots of 6.5.
And so his skull is cool because it's got 3 shots right here. And the PH is like, "Oh man, I thought you were kidding about shooting him." And I was like, "Well, you said I could shoot him." He's like, "Yeah, but you just had the 6.5. No one's ever shot one with anything less than a 3.75. He's like, "I thought you were just looking at him." I was like, "You said I could shoot him. Yeah, stop the truck. This is what we do." And he's like, that was incredible." And Thomas got the footage, my man. So you have
yeah,
LifeCard.
unfortunately there's no video footage to support this story, but we had a customer that wrote in and said, "I just want to let you know that the LifeCard saved my life." And I think they were in Alaska. I think they were. And this guy and his girlfriend were hiking, seeing some of the parks. He had his LifeCard with him, good for him. And they come on this big bear, and the bear is...
If you tell me you killed a polar bear with this thing,
no,
I'm all about it.
Yeah.
Narwhals next.
No, I mean, so he said the bear, I mean, I don't know all the lead up, but ultimately the bear charged them, and he shot his girlfriend in the knee and saved his life.
That's a joke.
So we're gonna pivot to a new thing.
I like that.
But it's an interesting thing. So in talking about this new product you're releasing, I was talking to this about Christine, General Counsel. Shout out, Christine, awesome. And the other day, and so a couple of my children are still in high school. When one goes to Phillips, one goes to Exeter High School, and they have this lovely, we call them resource officers. So she's a cop. It's a cop that's at school, and she has a Glock, 9mm, I think, and in their school, the hallways are like over 100 yards long.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm always thinking, like, how much does she train? All those questions people would ask. Like, but then I also think, I don't care if she's John Wick. Like, you got over 100-yard shot inside the school and you got a pistol.
With students everywhere.
Yeah, so let's get some frangible 5.56 and an AR if we're serious about protecting the kids. Or at least a gun where you can make a precise shot at 100 yards.
Yeah, so thanks for teeing that up for me, Kevin. I can't say that is exactly what I was going for, but it is kind of where we've gotten to with our new gun. When you think about a civilian or a law enforcement officer carrying a Glock sidearm, pretty good chance that person is going to have a Glock sidearm.
Yep, pretty good chance.
and-
And a Glock is way better than no gun
And I
in
think,
any gunfight.
for sure, might even be better than a SIG.
Maybe the 320.
When you think about, when I think about a school resource officer, and I don't think we had such a thing when I was in high school 30 years ago, 35 years ago, but I think there's this
we didn't have that.
element of we don't want to alarm people, but we want to be prepared. And that's kind of the role of a concealed carry permit holder. We don't want to alarm people, but we want to be prepared. So that means I need something that's discreet, but that can still reach out and touch at a distance, more than my pistol. A pistol is effective, I'm going to say, for me, effective 10 yards, 15 yards, and in. I'm comfortable making a shot at 15 yards.
Well,
but not at 100
yes.
yards.
I mean, several of us are, but I think, FBI statistics would say that it's probably half of 15 yards that people are effective with a handgun in a high-stress situation.
Sure.
Yeah. So that's the situation, because to me, it's like I said, my philosophy on the school stuff, and especially like younger kids and all. Like younger kids, if they're in kindergarten, first grade, I just don't even believe talking to the kids about this, because they're defenseless. And if you really want to save the kids, you put someone there that's capable with a firearm that can do what it needs to do. And a pistol is a very difficult thing unless you are very close and the right circumstances. I mean, shout out to that kid. He was in the mall the other day. And he shot somebody like 45 yards
40
or something?
yards.
40 yards with a handgun.
I never actually got the full story, but he started engaging at 40, and who knows what actually happened.
But it's
he
like
started engaging
8
at 40.
rounds or something,
Oh, yeah.
on target.
Yeah.
Ooh, my man, that is the 1% right
Oh,
there.
yeah.
That is
Sure.
the 1%. If even a professional, that's a 1%.
Yeah.
Under pressure, on the move, with a moving target that's shooting back at you.
And a handgun, a concealed
Oh, my
carry
gosh.
gun.
Yeah.
Like, that is so rare. But so for me, I'm like, well, if we're gonna train the kids and all these shooting drills and to be scared and prepared, I mean, causing anxiety, which I hate. It's like, okay, well then let's have a real deterrent. Let's have the cop have a long gun at the door where because especially in some little schools, maybe it's not that big a deal, but in their school, which is probably like many high schools in the country, like you got over 100-yard shot in every hallway. So, yeah. So here we go.
Law enforcement and military still have the advantage of not having to abide by NFA rules in terms of what they can use and what they can shoot. Civilians, not so much. So this gun, full disclosure, was intended to skirt NFA in its entirety from the beginning. So
I don't say it's skirt. They put out the rules, and you make things that make
meet,
sense.
stay outside of NFA. That's all I mean. So Gun Control Act.
And because they're very inefficient at what they do. It takes a year to process forms, even when you pay them $200 to do it. So that sucks.
Yeah. So as far as my design input, I wanted a rifle definition, rifle classification, 16-inch barrel, 26 inches overall at least, in a firing configuration. We set precedent with the LifeCard. We already got that classified. We talked with the ATF. They said, yeah, we agree. If it can't be fired when it's folded, then we're not worried about what it looks like when it's folded. So when it's open, when it's fireable, that's what we're going to call. That's what we're going to classify it as. And so this gun is much shorter. It's SBR length when it's folded up.
Yeah, when this is folded, what is this, 20, 21 inches?
20.9.
It's under 21 inches, just over 20 inches. It's 20 inches except for the muzzle protrusion. But in that configuration, it's inert. It can't be fired. You fold it around. Now, even with the stock collapsed, it meets the rifle definition. 16-inch barrel, 26 inches overall. When you pull the buttstock out, now you have a full length of pull, 14 and a half inches or so, and the 16-inch barrel. You have a very compact, but yet
very thin,
very ergonomic, thin, very usable rifle. It's a rifle. It's a pistol caliber, granted, but it is a rifle. Still,
not too heavy,
weighs
incredibly thin,
5 pounds.
5 pounds.
I'm fond to say the gun is the same thickness as a Glock 19 on the slide across the whole length of it, and it doesn't get wider, it doesn't get longer, it doesn't get taller. When you fold it up, when you unfold it, fold it, it just gets longer, shorter. That's it.
So, I like this. Everybody's gonna like that HK slap feature.
HK slap.
So you got that. So to fold it, you have to have the mag out. So Glock mag out. Yep. You have to have it in the locked open position, and then you have a button here. You press, and then you can fold this thing around, and ba-bam.
Yeah.
Well, that makes sure that you're safe because we know there's. Yeah. Otherwise, people are going to do the dumbest thing you possibly allow them to do. It'll happen.
Right. Yep.
That's cool. This holds the spare mag.
It does. Basically, that's what you would feed it from. If you have it in a backpack, which we're making bags with Savior equipment, and they're custom made. It's a tiny version of their, I think it's their covert operator, something like that.
Did you make this bag look like anything other than a gun bag?
It does not look like a gun bag.
It's just a black backpack. I mean, we'll probably make them blue one day.
You know what? I think we should have just thought of that, Thomas. I want to do an ode to Thomas bag, so it's going to be really skinny and small. And we are going to upcycle black denim.
Will the pockets be useless?
They're going to be very small. Like you'll be able to put a tiny condom in them. But I think, how cool would that be if we did like cowboy bags? They go in my belt buckle.
Yeah.
We could do we could do mine, which is like a little heavy, a little big, and we could do yours, which is,
not so big,
very small. And yours would be black denim, and mine would be like blue vintage upcycled denim, maybe with stretch marks in it. What do you think about this?
I like
We've
it.
got a new product idea.
Yeah.
Easy to market.
I'm in.
It'd be mine and your butts in a video.
Yeah.
Thomas, I got your back.
Sorry.
I'll let him give you a hard
It's
time.
all right. The ideas come. You got
No.
to let those creative juices
Absolutely.
flow.
When people see this, right, and they say they're gonna say, right, they're gonna put 5,000 rounds through this, right? Is it, at any point is that like pivot part, the thing that it spins on, is that ever gonna like wear over time?
It's interesting that you asked that. I got that same input from internally, and that is the part that's of the least concern to me. It's just a pivot point. It's highly engineered. It's smooth.
It's also not under any stress because you're not.
That's correct.
You're not forcing. It's not when the gun is operating, and it's also there's like no direct pressure or anything on that. It would
That's
just be
right.
like mechanical wear.
I mean, if you
And
think
if it's
about
round, it's
your
probably-
car door opening and closing, over and over all day long.
Well,
every
that's
day.
even worse because you get to a point with the car door and it stresses the material. Like there's no way to really stress this unless you were pulling in that direction.
Yeah, correct.
When we started going through with, outside sources and outside contacts as to what we were doing to test this rifle before we release it, there were people that were like, you were doing way more than what every other manufacturer does for their product testing. Like we have put that gun through everything to make sure that it won't fail.
Most small companies, there's just not a lot of testing. You build a prototype, works pretty good. You don't worry about drop test or any of that. That's not until you get to be bigger. But I know because we do all that stuff, and I know how expensive it is, and I know what separates us from like other companies. Yeah. There's that kind of stuff, and most companies don't do any of it. Like small companies that are doing little, their designs. But it's a lot of it's ignorance. You don't know until you know. And if you don't go and research all these sorts of tests you got to do. But also, there's not a lot of guns on the market from any size company that you can't find a configuration and a height and a situation and environment to drop it in where you can't make it go off.
Sure. And, I do want to talk about what brought about this this rifle and why it was brought to the market and why we thought that, hey, this is something that's missing. There are some great companies out there that make 16-inch rifles, PCCs, 16-inch PCCs that fold down or take down to very small compact packages. But we wanted something that was one of the fastest configurations possible from the time that you pull it from your bag or from under your seat or whatever it is in a defensive situation or for law enforcement or any professional application, the fastest way to deploy it, and then also something with a very high quality build. And there are some fast deployments out there.
That's I love Kel-Tec, but they take it to like the 10-yard line. This is no Kel-Tec.
And what we wanted to do is come out with something that, with ATF and, who knows what they're going to end up doing with brace laws, but we wanted something that would not have to worry about brace laws, that would allow somebody, and my background before this was working at Vertex, making bags where it allowed, responsible citizens and armed professionals to carry the most amount of equipment that they can on them in the most concealed way possible. This fits directly into that whole niche. And that was our goal, to produce the most high quality version of a rifle that we could that would deploy and be, as fast as possible and as effective as possible.
When I design something, and I have no design training, Kevin, I mean, full disclosure, I got kicked out of college, and I wasn't even studying engineering at the time. But when I design something, it's really important to me that it's functional when it's out, when it's the way it should be, but it's also functional or ergonomic when it's folded up. I want it to be right in both configurations.
Yeah.
So with our LifeCard, the importance to me was small form factor, rectangular, thin, short, but yet still usable, very utilitarian when it's open. And I applied that. I took that to our pivot rifle, and it was a tall order to say it's got to meet the rifle class, but it's got to be compact. It's got to be Glock 19 thin and as short as possible, and still, completely usable. And I think we accomplished it, as far as I'm concerned. But it's extremely ergonomic. Everything is where you think it should be.
Yeah, I think, what you're talking about to me is a couple things. Design language, so aesthetically, how something should look. And then also ergonomically, like those are subjective things to a lot of people. And some people just, they can't get it. And there's a segment of the population where I think we understand it better. But even the people that don't get it right away, when you pick it up. It's just there's some sort of disconnect between you like it, but you can't figure out why or address it. Or you don't put the thought into it. But why don't you like this other gun as much as you like this? They both shoot 9mm. They both take Glock mags. What's the difference to where you choose one over another one? And I think these subtle details is really what you're talking about, what matters. I think you're wrong in a couple ways. I think for what you guys are doing, and I agree with you, the ATF, the arm brace stuff, like it's just SB, they're just, it sucks. It's stupid. Like just say what an arm brace is, like describe it. So like in every other thing in the world, you have rules, you have a rule book, or you have objectives, and it's printed. There's a measurement. Okay. Like when they tried to say, oh, all your honey badgers are SBRs. Oh, we're just kidding. Never mind. Forget all those attorney's fees. It's like, why don't you just tell me, define an arm brace, and we'll design whatever you want. We're not trying to skirt any laws. Just write it down. But no, we can't do that. But you can design one and send it in, and we'll tell you if we accept it or not. And if we don't, we won't tell you why not. So just keep doing that for years. Assholes. Stop doing that shit. But I think you're wrong in the sense that your company and the products that you're doing, and NFA has become so mainstream with SBRs and with silencers, you could do an SBR version of this and probably sell just as many as you could 16-inch at this point, I think. And that's so cool. But imagine if it were half the size. Because you don't need a 16-inch 9mm barrel. I mean, you don't need a 10-inch 9mm barrel. Like, what if that thing had a 7-inch barrel and the stock folded and you had something like super small? And I wonder if you would sell even more. Like, I don't know.
And you're right. The NFA process, especially with eForms, Silencer Shop has those kiosks
Shout out
now,
to them.
and like the whole process is way more mainstream and it's easier than ever. And you remember 15 years ago, it used to be set up to where if you had your form, they wanted you to mess up. Like it was designed for you to fail.
The only thing that sucks is they're taking too long now. But
Right.
Silencer Shop has made it an easy process, and everybody should be thankful, because a lot of the stuff they're doing is holding them ATF and NFA accountable.
Right.
And it's speeding up, making things easier for them. But, sooner or later, that's going to be an instant process or a very fast process. But silencers are so wonderful for use. Everyone's gotten used to it. I mean, the silencer, it's probably 20x what it was 12 years ago. So people are now more familiar with this process.
And this, talking about silencers specifically for this pivot, the pivot comes with a tapered barrel, but also includes a taper adapter. So
Nice.
if you're using a flat shoulder, compatible suppressor, then we have you covered there. But if you're using superior taper technology, then
Use
you're
those
already,
tapers, because then, that vibration from that gun operating stuff comes loose. But you put that taper on there, stays tight. You don't have to have that big, heavy, dead air type mechanism that makes the front of your gun weigh way too much. That's a cool, subtle feature that
we love dead air, and we love Mike Pappas and Rod Cleveland. And
Yeah, so
Ernie.
so great, and wonderful.
So great.
But you see HK using the taper on their new gun. We
Right.
did it on the original Honey Badger. We did it at SIG. Of course, our rifles at Q have it. It's free. Like when you're machining the barrel, put it in there, and then you can have something where you don't need rock set or any type of glue. You don't need crush washers. You don't. There's all these things that you don't need that give you a better product. So that's a cool feature. And I think some of those details, you look at that, then, what are the other details in the rifle? If somebody's willing to do that and they have that kind of understanding, you probably got a good product all around.
Yep.
Mm.
And so do you want to talk about what the next, and we can always cut this out if you don't want, but do you want to talk about the
integral silencers, what that means?
We would love to work with a company located in Dover, New Hampshire on a integrated suppressor for this.
That'd be so fun.
There's a lot of real estate in this gun.
Yeah.
The bore is extremely low in the upper, but there's a lot of volume.
Yeah.
For perhaps
It doesn't have to be wide, but the volume is there.
Monocore type suppressor.
Or, any type. It's like there's a
Any
bunch
type.
of real estate, and you got 9 inches of barrel you don't really need.
That's right. Yeah. So you can get forward of the pivot mechanism, you can get maybe a 10-inch barrel and another 5.5 or 6-inch suppressor.
Do you think with 9mm you need 10 inches?
I'm not saying you need it, but the way that our current design is, that's where the latch mechanism is.
Oh, I got you.
And now,
Yeah.
in my limited experience in using chronographs, 10 inches is close to the optimum. You have increasing velocity up to around 10 inches, and then you have decreasing velocity
Just
after that.
just like 22s.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's great, but like I say, a shorter barrel for this reason. Like most of the ammo is really designed to perform terminally if that's what you're into. If you're not shooting just static target, if you're shooting, if it's a self-defense situation or hunting or something. But most ammo, 9mm ammo, it's all made for 9mm pistols. That's the huge market. So the bullets are generally designed to perform at that velocity level. And and we all know at this point, you only need a longer barrel if you want to shoot farther because you get that additional velocity. But people used to believe you're more accurate and have better dispersion. That's not the case. And oftentimes it's the opposite. And same thing like you're saying with 9mm with a 16-inch barrel, you're actually losing velocity, just like with a 22. Like optimum length for a 22, depending on stuff, is going to be 10 to 14 inches. Never is it 16.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So that's cool stuff. So these are starting to ship now. So by the time this airs, they'll be shipping.
Yep. They're shipping immediately.
Where do people get them? You guys going direct, or is it through distributors, or what is it?
So there are some dealer direct accounts, but almost I think every major distributor in the country has these available. So, if you're a shop watching this,
Nice.
or if you're an end user, go to your shop and they'll be able to get this. Unfortunately, our production will not be able to keep up with demand for quite a bit of time, but we're working on that. So expect in 2023 we will start trying to meet as much demand as we can, but we're on a backorder situation pretty much from here till maybe spring of next year, spring of 2023. But that's
Who knows? Like the demand could continue to grow. I mean,
exactly.
we continue to grow and produce more stuff, and thankfully, just like you guys, like not that many people know about you at a retail level, just like us. So it's like the more we produce and the more get out there, the more the back order grows, which is kind of a great thing. I've been playing with this the whole time. I never even said that. This is so cool. You have the little space in here, the little door where you can put 3 rounds of ammo. Is
3
that what
rounds.
that's?
Yeah.
That's so cool. Reminds me of the Liberator pistol.
Oh, yeah.
World War II,
Yep.
it held like 5 or 10 rounds in the grip.
With this, and it's just part of my design language where it's like, I want this thing to be ready to use, whatever it is. I mean, I'm not saying the LifeCard is the best self-defense gun, but I want it to be ready. So you got 3 additional rounds. You can carry 1 in the chamber. With the pivot, we're making a backpack with Savior equipment, and you can put up to a 27-round Magpul PMag in the stock.
I didn't even know they made Glock mags.
Yeah. So you have, you can put Glock mags smaller than the 33 into the spare mag holder. And so you've got this in a bag. You can picture a very small bag, very thin, or no bag. That's fine. But you've got a magazine in there, and you open it up, extend the buttstock, pull the magazine out, slam it home, HK slap. You're
That's
ready
cool.
to go.
You even did it with your left-handed.
That's
you
for
got
the
it with that
lefties.
thumb.
That's
That's
right.
pretty cool.
Do you shoot lefty?
No,
Kevin?
I shoot right hand. I know I talk shit about being left-handed, but I shoot right-handed actually. I just
The right
write and eat left-handed. It is like I can't even really bat, I can actually shoot left-handed all right, but I can't swing a bat or anything left-handed. But I can draw and paint with both hands.
Based on
which
what we
is
did
weird.
last night, you can't shoot right-handed either.
Wow.
Yeah.
Shots
Yeah.
fired.
So so fuck this guy. Okay.
Yeah.
So
Let's talk about the Celtic Sub 2000.
I also didn't see you hit it. But yeah, it's
That's
true.
because I'm left-handed.
Unless we've got money or there's an animal at stake, I'm probably terrible. Thomas, I just thought of a whole marketing scheme with this thing. They started talking about like disguise and stuff, and in the bag, it's like ship it. You know how? Well, I'm always kind of torn. Remember the old Colts? They came in like the plastic bag that was sealed with the oil. This gun, Thomas, should be like in you just stretch a pantyhose over it and it's in the box. like the old bank robbers with the disguise, disguise to smush your face. Disguise weapon. You just
We could do that.
Stick it in a pantyhose.
Oh yeah.
I got to stop giving all this away, Thomas.
Yeah,
You and I would
you
be
should charge for that.
we'd be living next to the Jeffersons if we were doing things correctly. Be at the top. Okay. So it ships with how many mags?
1 mag, and
One
it will
mag.
come.
Cheap
It will
ass.
come with a Glock OEM mag, so that actually costs
Oh, it
twice
is?
as much as every
Why
other
aren't you
mag
going with
that's
the
out there.
Magpul?
Well, Magpul makes a great mag. ETS makes a great mag. There's a lot of great U.S.-made mag options that are out there, but nobody will argue that the best Glock mag that exists out there is the Glock OEM mag. With this being the highest price point premium PCC that's out there, we want to make sure we included the absolute best stuff that's in there. So, the taper,
cool.
the taper adapter that's on there, you of all people know how expensive that is, and we're including one with every single gun that's out there. We're including a pretty high-end premium thread protector with every gun that's out there. We don't want to cut any corners at all on this gun. So
We fully expect that most people that buy this gun already have probably quite a collection of magazines.
I would imagine it's the same way. Same with ARs, yeah.
Yeah.
Glocks and ARs. Everybody's got to have a bunch of mags.
how many mags do you ship with a Minifix or with a Honey Badger?
15.
Bullshit.
Correct.
Mine, I need 14 when I go to Q after this because I was shorted.
I'm a man of the people. All right, I provide. Uncle Kev.
Wow, Uncle Kev. I'm impressed.
Yeah, one Magpul mag or OK Industries mag.
Like 5 or 10 rounds?
Yep.
So with those sub-def rifles,
Yep.
I saw there's a special OK Industry mag that comes with
I
it.
hate that mag. I don't know why we went to that. Well, the reason we went to that mag was there's so much variance in the Magpul mags that we were using.
Right.
And as the tool wears, they produce so many mags. As that tool wears, the magazines get bigger. And so then, like, depending on which tool it comes out of, some of them, even the feed lips are taller now, and it interferes with running the bolt. And so, and then also, we were shipping with, what were those, 20-round mags maybe?
Right.
I don't know. I don't know what mag we were shipping with. I can't remember.
20 round
Maybe it was
mags.
a 10.
Yeah.
But the OK Industry is okay for every state.
Right.
But I do not like that decision that we made, and that was done without me knowing. And I think that mag looks stupid because it reminds me, I'm old enough to where I remember the Clinton crime bill. You know?
Yeah.
And so,
94.
so 10-round mags. And so you had all these stupid mags with a big plastic follower. So, you know, I like maybe that's not a logical argument, but I'm just not down with that. I don't like it. I don't like that mag. OK Industry, they're mil-spec mags, but maybe they've sold. They're not doing it anymore. But those are all great mags. But I don't even like the one we're sending in ours. Like, I'm calling our people out who made that decision. This little small mag that we're sending now, Christine,
we're calling you out.
Christine.
But Christine is a great spin instructor, by the way.
Oh, yeah. Oh, thank God she does that. She has so much energy and, like, says so many words to me every day. If she didn't do that spin class every morning, I think she and I would probably throw stuff at each other.
We talked about it this morning. She says it's strictly something she does for mental health, and she can feel when she hasn't
For
done
my
it.
mental health or hers?
Probably for both. Probably more
Mine
so
and
for
her
yours,
husband's.
right? Yeah.
Oh, we're both named Kevin. Oh,
Hey,
shout
can
out to
I-
other Kevin.
Can I take a moment of personal privilege? I think that's kind of like things you do when you're trying to be in order. But
I don't even know what you said.
yeah, personal privilege. So it's like I'm going to go off prompter for a second and ask you, you've developed at least 2 cartridges that the industry didn't ask for, and you did them. And I'll tease out a little bit that one of my passions is concealed carry pistols. And so I'm actually working on a cartridge of my own design. I haven't talked to you about this yet.
No.
This is the first you're hearing of it. And I'm not gonna go into great detail, but tell me about the challenges of developing your own cartridge.
We actually talked about this morning, like great cartridges and why they failed and why some have been successful.
I think the handgun thing is different. I feel I'm very transparent and open, and I'll say everything that I know because I'm number one. I'm not afraid of giving up anything or competition or any of that stuff. But it's like that's a tough market handgun wise. So here's what I'll say about what I've done that's been successful, and I think it's been successful. It's in rifles. So silencers are becoming more popular. So the 2 cartridges that I've done, both blackout, 308.6, supersonic, subsonic. It's a barrel change only. It increases the capability and performance. There's no mag modification. And there's a lot of engineering and attention paid to that so that we can get complete reliability with common magazines and full mag capacity. There's no bolt change, so it's a very easy thing to do. And I think both of those, super and subsonic, greater capability, and then not having to modify your gun other than a barrel swap, it is the recipe for me. However, there's always a however, or if you keep innovating or you keep changing or you keep learning, you know, you always reserve the right to change your mind. 8.6, is it necessary? If you don't understand fast twist, probably not. If you understand fast twist, it's the greatest new cartridge, but it's a weapon system.
Right.
Where, you know, I don't know that I'm smart enough to design like these guns that you've done, but I am smart enough to improve on, in a simplistic way, some things. And the fast twist, you know, our goal was to have a magnum capability in a very compact and lightweight gun. So how do you perform that magic? And a lot of people are, well, not a lot anymore, but I still see it sometimes, think the twist has no impact on the bullet, which is the most asinine thing. And I try to be nice to everyone because, it's ignorance. Until you don't know, you don't know. And I'm always ignorant every day in engineering when I walk in at my place. And those assholes educate me, and I walk out with more knowledge. So to get to you, pistol stuff. It's interesting. You have people say, "Oh, 45 knockdown power." Okay, knockdown power is not a real fucking thing, guys. All right, that's a bullshit term that dudes in gun stores say. It's not a real fucking thing. Muzzle energy, that can be calculated, but now that we're doing fast twist, you have to change that calculation because things have changed. So muzzle energy, but at what distance are you shooting a target? So when somebody says, because I get this question all the time. Like, it's just the basic questions, and I'm just a little jaded because of 29 years in the internet, but I actually, in person, or someone's asking anything in earnest, I will always spend the time to share the limited knowledge that I have, but it's more than the novice guy, and that's what I'll say to that. But it's like, knockdown power is not a fucking thing. So where we start with everything, and where I think is correct, and I've been taught by my engineers and the programs that we've done, where are we trying to get to? What's the thing you're trying to do? That's the thing. So we start there, and then we backfill. That sets our priority list. 9mm. So everybody's all into 45. 45 is so great. Texans, it's got 45 is stupid compared to 9mm because you are not, like, with a pistol, you have to hit the central nervous system to instantly incapacitate someone. And like, if you shoot some villain, some terrorist, somebody trying to blow something up, if you shoot a bad guy and you shoot him through a lung and he's going to die 10 minutes later, thank you very much. It's a great thing. But if he can still set off a bomb, or he can blow something up, or he can shoot 8 other people, or take a machete to 5 other people, doesn't mean anything. And so unless you're shooting a rifle cartridge, if you don't shoot them in the central nervous system, they're not instantly incapacitated. So, same thing like on a lion hunt. If you wound a lion and that lion charges you, you better shoot him in the fucking brain. Because if you don't, you're going to get chowed. I mean, that's just the way it is. It's cool if he dies, but if he dies after you die, who cares?
And with a leopard, 1,000 stitches per second.
Oh, God.
Don't make
I'm
about
leaving in 1 week. Man,
by the time this comes out,
oh, my God.
You're on your way
so
back.
I will either be looking like Frankenstein or I killed a leopard.
Yeah.
One of those two things. But here's the thing. So I'm interested. So it was really cool to see that the industry, because of bullet technology and a better understanding, went from 45, started at 9, 45, 10mm, 40 cal,
357 SIG.
357 SIG, which
Shout out to 357 SIG.
cool but stupid.
Bottleneck rounds.
And bottleneck rounds feed great and all, but it takes up more space and it breaks guns. Okay, so that's the thing. But you're still shooting a pistol round. But so the incremental difference. Nope, you don't get to ask a question. But the new 30 carry, I'm kind of interested in that because the gun's going to operate. It's going to be reliable. It ain't going to break guns and be unreliable like a 40 cal or a 45. And then you carry more rounds for the same weight, and you're still putting a pistol around somebody, and bullet technology's gotten better. That's my thoughts. What do you got? So you're going 46 auto?
So I appreciate you teeing me up for that, Kevin. So with the 30 Super Carry, and I'm no expert on 30 Super Carry, but what I heard
Me either.
in their marketing message was 20% or 2 more rounds in the same platform. Now, when you're carrying an 8 or a 10 a cartridge gun and you get 2 more rounds, okay, so you got 2 more rounds. Great. What I've read about shootings is the big problem is not lethality, it's accuracy. So cartridge count is super important. So the number of rounds that I have to put on target, now that's not necessarily my problem, but that's the common problem, is I'm going to miss most of the time. So the more rounds I have, the better chance I have of putting a bad guy down. So for me, that says it's not lethality that matters. It's round count that matters. It's capacity.
I don't know. I mean, if you're more comfortable, people watching that train a lot, going to be, all you got to do is go train. Well, That's also true, and it's also true if the gun's more ergonomic.
Right.
You're going to shoot it better. If you have better sights, you're going to shoot it better. Like my vision's so bad now, I can't use iron sights. So my carry gun, and for full disclosure, what I carry is a Glock 43. Wait, what's the other model? That's
43X.
I carry a 43X with a tiny little red dot on it,
Right.
and that's what I carry. And I don't worry about more than 8 or 10 rounds because I think at that point, if I'm not to my honey badger, then I'm probably running or I'm dead.
So imagine,
But I can shoot the gun very well.
For the sake of argument, though, imagine that not everybody's as good a shot as Kevin Brittingham.
Oh, God, I hope they are.
Imagine that you have a Glock 42 size carry gun, which is what I carry.
That's the little small one, like
That's
the
the
380.
380,
Yeah.
which is a 6+1. Imagine that gun, all of a sudden, the stars align, and that's a 12+1 or a 15+1 gun. The same platform. Is that not better?
Not necessarily.
Depends.
What I would say is, so the guy who built my custom Glock that I carry with the red dot and all, he sent me one of those. I know you'll know the name. The company that makes the metal mag, Shield or something.
Shield, yeah.
The mag's not as reliable as the Glock mag. So I don't care if it holds more rounds. Like when it comes to saving your life, to me, reliability. And I've seen, like, if you watch Donut Operator, shout out to him. Thanks for sending my son all those shirts. I got something for you. So a lot of his videos, 1 round malfunction. Like that happens, I mean, not a ton, but it's happened in several videos I've watched, which are all live real shootings. So reliability to me is number one.
Which is for sure. And that, for me, it goes without saying, even though we need to say it while we're standing here talking. But reliability is the utmost importance to me in a concealed carry pistol.
Okay, so then what's your angle? What's the cartridge?
So to me, it is.
No, you got to cut it out.
We should not talk about the
We're
new
not going to
one.
talk in details, but we're going to say that it's a smaller diameter, it's a higher capacity, equal power, concealed carry cartridge.
It rhymes with Schmesfen Schmevschmeben. Just kidding. It doesn't.
Well, I like where you're going, and I think that is a thing. It's a concept even with the 30 carry. That's what it's called.
Super
30
carry.
super carry.
So it is that you're not losing a ton of bullet performance, but more rounds and easier to shoot. Easier to shoot for women.
That's my thing. With 30 super carry, and I don't want to turn this into a big advocate thing for 30 super carry, but female shooters, and I've dedicated, anybody that knows me knows I've dedicated a big chunk of my career to educating and teaching women and children, right? I want them to be able to defend themselves and be responsible. Yeah. And for female shooters, if they can have a good, reliable, effective...
small gun, because then it's also ergonomically for Thomas hands.
Exactly. Yeah. If you're wearing jeans as tight as Thomas, you need a small gun that has a lot of rounds so you can be effective from a defensive aspect, and 30 super carry. If I really do hope, and it has not taken on as much as I thought it would, but if it starts
I think it's a good idea, but I think that whole concept, I think you're right. Like, the 5.7 also the same thing. Like that is that, and you also people need to understand, 5.7, 4.6 with HK, what it was designed for. There was a requirement, and that was a penetration at 150 meters of a certain Kevlar helmet. Like that was the idea, and the hit probability is very good with it. But is it the best thing? Like, what are you? And that goes back to what I said earlier. What are we trying to do? What are we designing the product for? But I think all of these things are considerations. Like we said, you have number of rounds, you have reliability, you have something that's ergonomic, something you can shoot well that doesn't have a lot of recoil or breaks guns. You have to have everything. Whenever somebody says accuracy is the only thing that matters. Okay, well, let me give you a 100-pound gun that holds one round, idiot.
Right. Sure.
I want to talk about how 5.7 was released as many years ago as it was, and it is now, I think it's in its peak right now. I think it's
1991 is when it came out.
Right.
Yeah.
Is that right?
I think it was in the 80s. I want to say
it wasn't the 80s. Not commercially.
Not commercially, but I think it was originally. But
wait. I have
the
a phone, the Google machine. I'm going to check this out.
PS90 was named for 1990.
My man.
Nice.
Is that true? I hope that's true because
It
that
is
makes us
absolutely
look
true.
And what I'll say is, so we're looking at 32 years later, right? Over 30 years later, that round is just now in the past 10 years becoming to where it's like a very viable thing. And Kevin and I talked about this morning, which, for anybody watching this, whenever a bunch of us get together, we are big dorks when it comes to guns and ammo and any of this stuff.
The 5.7 pistol was designed in 1993.
Yeah.
What about the 5.7 cartridge?
It was 88,
I'd like
89.
I'd like for you to
development.
Google 5.7 by 28.
90 is the reason. It was
But I don't know if that's
That
when
might have been the
cartridge was developed.
concept.
No, it's definitely
But
true.
we talked
All right, I'm
about
Googling.
great rounds and why some of them have taken on. Like, why did 6.8 fail? Because ultimately 6.8 has not caught on.
well,
5.7,
Wha-
it took
what-
it 32 years for it to really catch on.
So interestingly to me,
and it's caught on now?
Oh, yeah. I would say in a big way it's caught on.
Well,
definitely caught on.
what's more popular, 5.7 or 300 blackout?
300 blackout.
In
but
my
it-
house.
It's interesting to me to think
1990 is when the cartridge was designed.
That's what I said.
the fact is, yeah, that's what Ron said. The fact is that was developed for military use.
Right.
I'm not advocating my cartridge.
It was a
for-
NATO.
Wait, I have to say this on Wikipedia. It goes by in service used by 40 nations plus.
Yeah.
Wars. Mexican drug war.
No way. That's the only war listed?
No, it lists others, but that was in the top 3. It made my day.
So for me, I'm a civilian. I was in the military, but I'm not in the military anymore. I won't be anymore. And that's a real need.
Till
But
the revolution comes.
There are far more civilians than there are military people that are gun users. So what's the real world use for me commercially is concealed carry. It's not for, I don't get the luxury of designing little tiny SBRs.
Dude, after the threaded barrel thing, so we obviously have to collab this after last night.
We're in. Let's do it.
So we're going to come up, I don't know what it would be. There's some things we need to do to make this even more awesomer. But for what you've done, and from my standpoint, I don't even carry a gun every day. So come try and take this money. Let's see what happens. But this is so fun. I mean, this is one of the things you take to the range with your buddies like we're talking about. With the silencer on there, you will have so many great times and memories, or with your kids, or hanging out with your lady, or just with your buddies. I mean, a 22 with a silencer is about the most fun you can ever have with a gun.
There's
sure.
so
And then
many-
young kids don't know it. We should collab and start educating these fools.
Yeah.
There are so many people that come to us and say, well, what's the purpose of this, and what's this, and what's that, and like, what can I do, and like, how is it going to replace my Glock 19, or how's it going to replace my Taurus TX22? And it's like, well, it's not designed to replace any of those.
It's going to put a smile on
And
your face when you shoot it.
At the end
That's
of the
what it's
day,
gonna do.
last night when we were shooting that, everybody around, which we all have, I mean, between the three of us, we have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of guns, and it's like, man, that's one of the most fun nights I had shooting in a long time.
For sure.
It's fun.
And it's just flat out fun.
So we should do it. We just got to think. So since Thomas is talking himself up over there and his skinny jeans cutting off circulation, we got to think of a great marketing angle for this and put a combo together and make this a thing for makes sense to both of us.
We'll
Because
do
then we know it'll make sense to our customers.
And I'd like to think by the time this airs that we've got all that figured out. So we're, full disclosure, we're talking about some sort of collab between Q and Trailblazer, between the LifeCard and possibly the Erector 22.
We'll figure out a collab and have that released either direct or through Silencer Shop, our homies there, or whatever. But yeah, I don't know. Like, why you would want it is because it's a good time and it'll last you forever. I don't know.
Absolutely.
Little James will tell you go to the club with $500. You got one night of memories. You spend the money on
It'll
this, you got a
last you
lifetime
forever.
of fun.
Now
Oh,
we're
that's
talking.
like a closer. I'm just
I
nailing this.
like that.
That is a closer. I like it. But what's the price point on that?
The LifeCards start non-threaded at $299, and then threaded they start at $319, and the collaboration we are going to I wouldn't put any of that in there, but I would just put LifeCards start at $299.
But I think we could safely
I was-
say that the LifeCard costs less than an erector, or an erection.
Does I don't know.
First off, that's free
I mean,
every
I
morning.
get those just
I
waking
got-
up.
I got
That's the
healthy.
only free thing in my life.
My testosterone's a flowing.
Woo! I know Ron and I aren't bald because we don't have it. So
We're having a man moment.
so what? Yeah, I mean, I don't. Are we done?
No, we need a good.
That's
we need a
it.
good closer. We need to figure it
We
out.
need a better closer. I feel like
Hey,
I
can I
nailed
give it a try? Can I give it a try?
What are you gonna try?
I can't
I'm
wait
gonna
to see
try
this.
the closer. Can I talk to the audience?
You got to pull your shit together.
I'm ready.
All right, you can do whatever you want.
From the very first moment that I started working on the LifeCard, I knew that I wanted it to be a suppressor host with a Q suppressor. So I'm happy to announce that we have now partnered with Q on the smallest, lightest, quietest suppressor host in .22 caliber.